What's up, my peoples? We're going to look at the upcoming fights. I may do predictions, I may not do predictions. And we're going to also look at some more things that came out in boxing. And we'll discuss it all right here, right now. I know it's early in the morning, it's about 7 something in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, but we're going to get it popping anyway. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing okay. So, this weekend's actually a lot of firecrackers. There's a lot of stuff going on this weekend. But basically, there's one high profile fight that really is competitive and interesting between two world champions, a unification bout between Maurice Hooker and Jose Ramirez. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Right now, we're going to talk about the card that is going to be televised on Showtime. That has to do with Gervonta Davis. So the event takes place in Royal Farms Arena, Baltimore, Maryland, USA. And the Maryland State Athletic Commission is the ones that are going to be actually hosting it. The two promotional companies that are promoting this event is TGB Promotions and Mayweather Promotions. So that should be cool. You can get your tickets at Ticketmasters. The matchmaker is Kenny Craig and Tom Brown. All right, and it'll be on, as I said before, Showtime in the United States and worldwide, and then also on the Panamanian channel, Panama RPC Channel 4. All right, let's talk about the fights that are coming up on there. We'll talk about the main event first. Gervonta Tank Davis, he's going to be facing a Panamanian fighter in the name of Ricardo Nunez. As you know, Panama has always had a history of producing some very, very good boxers. You know, Roberto Duran, there's Ernesto Marcel, and there's a ton of others. Okay, they're tough guys. I've looked at Ricardo Nunez. I had a little bit of look at him. He hasn't had any marquee opponents, and not to be confused with the other Ricardo Nunez from Panama, who is a bantamweight at this point in time, who is also a tough fighter. But he's solid all around. Got some defensive flaws. Fights tall. Has some good power. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Diego Corrales somewhat. Knocked out most of his opponents. He got stopped in his career by some opponent, which probably was in Panama. But he has 2 losses on his record. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not the sharpest guy in the world. He's okay. He's a good opponent for Gervonta Davis to feature himself. But he's durable as well. So that should be very interesting. Gervonta's probably not going to, maybe he will, maybe he won't knock him out with one punch. But I guess once Nunez can see the punches coming, he's pretty durable. So that should be interesting. Nobody so far has carried Gervonta Davis 12 rounds. So it'll be very interesting to see if he goes 12 rounds in his fight with this gentleman. On the undercard, we have Yurocas Gamboa. He's going to come back. He's facing Roman Martinez. As you know, Roman Martinez, also known as Rocky Martinez, was once upon a time featherweight world champion, if I'm not mistaken. Salida beat him, and then it went to and fro. All right, so Roman Martinez, I believe that's the Roman Martinez. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I think so. Just having a look to see. Yep. Roman, a.k.a. Rocky Martinez. And Rocky Martinez is up in age as well. He, of course, after his knockout loss to Vasily Lomachenko, he took 3 years off. And he came back this year in March. He faced a guy called William Gonzalez. Knocked him out in the 8th round, and now he's going to be facing Yurocas Gamboa. When he fought Lomachenko, he was at super featherweight, actually. He had the super featherweight title, so there you go. I thought he was a featherweight, but he's a super featherweight. He has a good super featherweight history. And so he is going to move up in weight now to lightweight, because he faced William Gonzalez at lightweight and knocked him out. So he carries power up. He's going to be facing Yurocas Gamboa this evening, tonight. So that should be a good fight. Of course I favor Gamboa in that fight, as well as I favor Gervonta Davis. I wouldn't say that these are competitive matchups. They're not on paper. They could turn out to be. but because the underdogs are live in almost all these fights. But I would say this, that it's still you know, it's still good to see Gamboa fighting and actually doing his thing at lightweight. So that's good for him. Javante Tank Davis is going to be featured. Here I can Gamboa. Both are going to be actually fighting at super featherweight. They're fighting at super featherweight. So I thought it was at lightweight. Maybe it sets up Gamboa versus Tank. Who knows? And then at lightweight, Ladarius Miller, he's going to be facing Jezreel Corrales. I know nothing about Jezreel Corrales. I don't know how Ladarius Miller is going to handle that. We'll see. And the final guy on this card that is worth mentioning is Ronald Gavril from Mayweather Promotions. He'll be facing Vaughn Alexander. So all the favorites are the ones that I pick. I pick Davis to win, Gamboa, Miller, and Gavril. I think those will be the winners. I could be absolutely incontrovertibly wrong. When we look at the DAZN matchups, again, DAZN has been shining very brightly, producing some really competitive matchups, and they're not changing anytime soon. Their fight card is just lit. So, in the same time tomorrow, in College Park, Arlington, Texas, USA, the Commission Texas Combative Sports Program, that's the commission's name, Matchroom Boxing's Eddie Hearn is going to put on a great fight. It's not going to be on television in the U.S., but it will be in Latin America in Canal Space. But as you know, DAZN is a streaming service, so DAZN will be on the internet. First of all, the main event will be a super lightweight showdown between the WBC super lightweight champion and the WBO super lightweight champion. That being Jose Carlos Ramirez will face off against Maurice Hooker. And what is to be a unification bout, two undefeated fighters. Maurice Hooker having a record of 26-0 and 3 draws, and Jose Carlos Ramirez having 24-0-0. It should be a barn burner. It should be a fantastic matchup. That is the fight of the night. Also on the undercard, IBF World Super Featherweight Champion Tevin Farmer will showcase his skills against Guillaume Frenois. So that should be an interesting matchup. Guillaume Frenois seems to have a lot of experience. He has 46 fights, 1 loss, 1 draw. So that should be interesting how that fight goes. Those are the two main fights that we really want to look at in high-profile fighters. So DAZN, you're going to put on this card. It should be interesting. It should be exciting. We'll see how things turn out in the end. I don't know why I'm suddenly starting to feel sleepy and I'm just rocking to and fro. But that's the fights we got to look forward to. So let me give you my picks for that. I've got Maurice Hooker beating Jose Luis Ramirez. And I've got Tevin Farmer beating Guillaume Frenois or Frenois. Okay? That's how I have it. I don't know. We'll see how it all works out in the end. How it pans out in the end. All right. So let's talk about Manny Pacquiao. I've seen that people were talking about and still having this buzz that he may have used PEDs or some sort of performance-enhancing drug when he faced Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman was landing some really home run punches and Pacquiao wasn't even stirring. Well, we know that VADA's president reported that VADA's actually not doing any tests for this fight. At least they're not associated with the WBA and the commission for this fight. So what happened was the president of Manny Pacquiao Promotions came out and started to speak on this issue, saying that he said that the people of VADA are actually hired by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and that they actually were doing work, and that he didn't know why the president of VADA said that statement, which put everybody into an uproar. The thing about it is, Manny Pacquiao is also a year-round tested WBC VADA enlisted. He's enlisted with VADA. Um, I'm not too sure about Keith Thurman. He is WBA champion, but that is the case. Now we've seen that Vada missed something when it comes to Dillian White, or probably they didn't miss anything. Dillian White probably declared his stuff to Vada, so that they were able to give him a TUE. And I would not be surprised, probably, that he also did that with the British Boxing Board of Control, showing his documents to show he has a TUE for whatever performance enhancing, possibly performance enhancing or performance masking drugs he could have used. So, Dillian White, I don't know what's the specifics on it. They were talking about certain drugs or steroids or whatever. I don't know. I have to find out more as the information unfolds. Thomas Hauser is just not a good, credible source for me. Talking about, so yes, with respect to Manny Pacquiao, I would say that Manny Pacquiao, his president came out and he was trying to set the record straight on things that happened. I do believe probably Vada may have been involved in collecting data and doing tests for the Nevada State Electoral Commission, but I'm pretty sure they didn't have the final say. They were not the ones making the announcements. They didn't have full control over it. So that's probably why the president came out and said what she said. Be that as may, Manny Pacquiao is enlisted in the VADA program. Now, with respect to these upcoming fights that are going to happen this afternoon, I just want to say, may the best man win, but also I hope that these fighters remain safe. Bob Arum was talking about Manny Pacquiao in his career, and that he shouldn't be taking those flush shots like what he took against Keith Thurman. I too totally agree. I also hope he has done a CAT scan, and I really do hope that Pacquiao doesn't stay in boxing for very long. I think that Bob Arum is right that if Pacquiao is getting the Mayweather fight, fine. But any other fight, he thinks that, in his opinion, Pacquiao, especially if he wants to run for president of the Philippines, will need to take as little punishment as possible, and especially at the back end of his career, that can have long-lasting effects. So I do agree with Bob Arum 100% on many counts. At the end of the fight, I looked at Pacquiao's face and how puffy it was and how he wasn't actually responding the way I expected him to respond, and that kind of bothers me a bit. Hopefully he's getting oxygenated to cause the healing process to be better. But by and large, I'm still very worried about Pacquiao in terms of he's wanting to continue fighting, especially against those young lions like Errol Spence and Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford and Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia. These guys are not guys you mess around with. Keith Thurman showed you, he's not a guy to play around with either. He beat up Pacquiao pretty bad. So for those people who think that, Manny Pacquiao should continue boxing, I would say if he's going to continue boxing, he better make sure that he's not only healed up, but also that he doesn't do a whole bunch of fights. He probably has 2 more fights in him, if so much, maybe even just 1. So if I was Pacquiao, I would seriously think about it, my health, because there's a life after boxing. And as much as you're active and everything, your body could deteriorate rather rapidly, especially with brain damage. So I'm hoping that Manny Pacquiao heeds that and gets out of the sport of boxing. It was a tremendous win for him. People are talking about him being a great fighter. Some people are exaggerating things and carrying it out of context, but I would say that Manny Pacquiao has done a phenomenal thing in beating Keith Thurman. That's something that, Keith Thurman wants to run that fight back. I don't know if he can run it. They could run it back so soon. Pacquiao is an old guy. But we'll see how things turn out. Especially Pacquiao's reputation and what happens to him. But, that's my take on that. What is the other things in the media I want to talk about? Not much more. There was a grilling, or Barbershop Conversation tried to grill Eddie Hearn, and I see some of the black channels like Boxing Ego once again going through things, talking in a very biased way, as if Eddie Hearn was in some kind of trouble when the interview was happening, which was not the case. What everybody agrees with is Oscar Rivas should have been notified somehow, some way. Now the laws with respect to UCAD and with respect to the British Boxing Board of Control say that stuff stays confidential, between the person and the reviewing body, unless, of course, the person is found to be guilty of popping unauthorized substances without a TV. And that was not the case with whatever his name is, which I just drew a blank. I don't know. I feel very, very exhausted right now, so that's probably why. I just ate, so maybe that's the reason. But for the life of me, I just can't remember. It's Dillian White. All right, so having said that, we'll see how the thing pans out. The truth will actually come out. Thomas Hauser is not a good source. I repeat, Thomas Hauser is not a good source. He misinformed us about Floyd and the IVs and tried to insinuate Floyd was taking steroids when Floyd does not take steroids. Floyd never took steroids in his life. So it's just what it is. On that note, though, people, have a good evening. Have a good morning. Have a great day. Your boy is out. If I can't talk more boxing during the later portion of the day, I'll try. You guys have a good one. Peace.